Hello listeners, this video is about Wuthering Heights written by Emile Bronte. This novel was written in the year 1847. It was initially published under Emile Bronte's pen name Ellis Bell. Let us see about Emile Bronte. She was born in the year 1818 and died in the year 1848. She was an English novelist and poet. She is best known for her only novel, Wuthering Heights. And this novel is seen as a classic of English literature. She has also published a book of poetry with her sisters Charlotte and Anne, which titled Poems by Currier, Ellis and Acton Bell. Emile Bronte is the sister of Charlotte and Anne, so they are referred to be Bronte sisters. These Bronte sisters, they belong to Bronte family. They were a 19th century literary family born in the village of Taunton. Let us see the background of Wuthering Heights. This novel was influenced by Romanticism and Gothic fiction. This novel has also won controversy by depicting mental and physical cruelty that includes domestic abuse. It also challenges to the Victorian morality, religious and societal values. This novel, Wuthering Heights, was accepted by the publisher Thomas Newby. After the death of Emily, her sister Emily, she edited a second edition of Wuthering Heights, which was published in the year 1850. Let us see the characters of this novel. Mr. Lockwood, he is the narrator of the story. He is a gentleman who rents Thrushcross Grange from Heathcliff. Ellen Melly Dean is a housekeeper to the Earnshaws and Lintons. Hindley Earnshaw, who is the son of Mr. Earnshaw and the brother of Catherine, the foster brother of Heathcliff, and father of Hareton and the husband of Frances. Next is Catherine Earnshaw Linton. She is the daughter of Mr. Earnshaw, sister of Hindley, and the foster sister and true love of Heathcliff. The meaning of foster sister is a woman who is not a daughter of your parents, but your parents raised her as their daughter, similar to adopted daughter. And Catherine is the wife of Edgar, mother of Catherine. Next is Heathcliff. Heathcliff is the foster son of Mr. Earnshaw and foster brother of Hindley and Catherine. He is the brother of Isabella, father of Lynn. Next is Catherine, who's otherwise called as Cathy Linton Heathcliff Earnshaw. She is a daughter of Edgar and Catherine. She is a wife of Linton Heathcliff and Hareton Earnshaw. These two are her cousins. Next is Hareton Earnshaw. He is the son of Hindley and Frances, husband of young Cathy. Next is Edgar Linton. He is the brother of Isabella and the husband of Catherine, father of Cathy. The minor characters are Mr. Earnshaw. He is a gentle farmer. He is a father to Hindley and Catherine. Next is Frances Earnshaw. She is Hindley's wife and Hareton's mother. Next is Isabella Linton. She is a sister of Edgar, wife of Heathcliff and the mother of Linton. Next is Linton Heathcliff. He is a son of Heathcliff and Isabella and the husband of young Catherine. Next is Joseph. He is a long-time servant at Wuthering Heights. Next is Zilla. Zilla is a housekeeper at Wuthering Heights. There are totally 34 chapters in this novel. Let us see the narrative structure of this novel. Lockwood and Nellie, they serve as an obvious narrators. The characters like Heathcliff, Isabella, Cathy, and even Zilla, they narrate their points between the novels. Catherine does not speak directly to the readers, but through her diary, she narrates the important aspects of her childhood. Let us see the class structure in Victorian era. In general, a person's social class is dependent upon the amount of money a person had. But in the Victorian era, it was just the opposite. The class structure was based on the source of income, birth, and family connections that played a major role in determining one's position in society. And in addition to all of these, money, manners, speech, clothing, education, and other values of a person matter. There were three classes during Victorian era. First is elite class, middle class, and the working class. And in the novel, if we see, the Lintons were the most elite family in the novel, and Thrushcross Grange was a superior property to Wuthering Heights. And Lintons were not the members of upper crust of society, rather they belonged to professional middle class. And Earnshaws, they were not the members of the working class because they were landlords who had servants. Nellie, who's a servant of Earnshaws, represents the lower middle class. Heathcliff, who is an orphan, therefore his situation is below everyone in the Wuthering Heights. Let us now see the plot summary of the novel. Mr. Lockwood, he is a person from an outside city. He rents an estate called Thrushcross Grange. He visits his landlord twice. His landlord is Mr. Heathcliff, who lives at a nearby manor called Wuthering Heights. During his first visit, Heathcliff spoke in a rough and friendly manner. So this was all happening in the late winter months of 1801. This Thrushcross Grange is an isolated moor. Moor means a wild open area of a high land which is covered with grass and heather. And during the second visit of Lockwood, he meets other mysterious residents of Wuthering Heights. During his visit, he is attacked by dogs. When he tries to leave, he was endured by a ghostly supernatural power overnight. Lockwood asks the housekeeper at the Grange. The housekeeper is Ellen Dean, who's otherwise called as Nellie, to tell him about Heathcliff and Wuthering Heights. Now Nellie, she narrates a complicated story of the two families, the Earnshaws and the Lintons. Mr. Earnshaw, a gentleman who owns the Wuthering Heights, he has two children, Hindley and Catherine, and a third adopted child, Heathcliff. Hindley is jealous of Heathcliff because both his father and his sister are very fond of him. To avoid trouble or conflict between the siblings, Mr. Earnshaw sends Hindley away to college, and during Hindley's absence, Catherine and Heathway became extremely close. Soon as Mr. Earnshaw dies, his son Hindley, he returns with his new wife in order to claim Wuthering Heights. Hindley, who's already bitter with Heathcliff, he tries to make him as his servant by giving up Heathcliff's education. Meantime, Hindley's wife dies after giving birth to a baby boy, Hareton. Later, Hindley ends up into alcoholism and continues to abuse and mistreats Heathcliff. Meantime, Heathcliff and Catherine, they grow in interest with Lintons. They are a well-to-do family who live at Thrushcross Grange. The Lintons have two children. They are Edgar and Isabella. The Lintons family and their children seem to be very cultured and refined to whatever the wild inhabitants of Wuthering Heights. Catherine Earnshaw, she tries to spy on the Lintons. She takes a journey to the Lintons' house. There she was suffering an injury, and that made her to stay there with the Lintons, and she became close to Edgar. She became attracted to Edgar's wealth and also his beauty. Yet her feelings for Heathcliff are far more passionate than her infatuation with Edgar. While in this situation, Catherine tells Nellie that she cannot marry Heathcliff because Henley has degraded him and made him to be low. Heathcliff, he overhears Catherine's speech. He then flees out of Wuthering Heights that night. In Heathcliff's absence, Catherine marries Edgar Linton and moves to Thrushcross Grange. After years, Heathcliff returns to Thrushcross Grange. Now he has become rich and dignified, but still he is the same as wild and ferocious. Catherine is more excited and thrilled to see Heathcliff again, although Edgar did not consider Heathcliff's return. Though Edgar smells the excitement of Catherine, he kept them apart. But Catherine, despite her husband's disapproval, she continues to see Heathcliff. Heathcliff then moves into Wuthering Heights. Hindley, who has already become a gambler, he welcomes Heathcliff. Although he hated him, his money attracted him. Soon after that, Catherine tells Heathcliff that Isabella has a crush on him. Soon after, Heathcliff and Isabella started to embrace and romance. Observing this, Edgar becomes angered towards Heathcliff. He fights with Catherine for being a cause for their love. Now Catherine, she responds by locking herself inside her room and she refuses to eat for almost 3 days. On the third day, Catherine is affected by delusions. She believes that she is near death, and on the same night, Heathcliff elopes with Isabella. For 2 months, Edgar cares Catherine. Gradually, her health improves, and on the following days, she discovers that she is pregnant. On the other end, at Wuthering Heights, Heathcliff treats Isabella very badly soon after their wedding. Edgar, who hated Isabella and Heathcliff, he refuses to have any contact with his sister Isabella. Edgar also had a fear that Heathcliff may take away Thrushcross Grange from the Lintons by having a thought of being wedded with Isabella. 2 months later, after Heathcliff's wedding, he concerns about Catherine's health and he paid a visit to Thrushcross Grange while Edgar was away. Having met Catherine, Heathcliff, he profuses his continual love toward Catherine, and Catherine also responds to Heathcliff's love. But as soon as Edgar returns, Catherine and Heathcliff collapses. That night, Catherine gave birth to a girl named Kathy. Soon after, Kathy dies few hours later. Then Catherine is buried in a spot where she used to play with Heathcliff as a child. 2 days later, Isabella, she escapes from Wuthering Heights and she takes a visit to London where she gives birth to Heathcliff's son, Linton. Hindley, he also dies 6 months later. He has already borrowed a huge sum of money to Heathcliff, and for which Heathcliff becomes the owner of Wuthering Heights soon after the death of Hindley. Heathcliff places Hareton in the same way as Hindley used to keep him when he was young. So Hareton was treated as a slave who is completely at the subject of Heathcliff. 12 years pass. Kathy grows into a beautiful young woman, while Hareton grows into a rough youth. Soon after, Isabella dies and Edgar brings Linton back to Thrushcross Grange. Heathcliff insisted upon his wish of having Linton to live with him at Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff strongly builds a careful and deliberate friendship between the weak and spineless Linton and the strong-willed Kathy. Though initially Edgar refuses of Catherine visiting Linton, but soon as he falls ill, he allows Kathy to meet Linton at Thrushcross Grange or on the moors. One day, as Heathcliff meets Linton and Kathy on the moors, he forces Kathy and Nellie to return with him and Linton to Wuthering Heights. Heathcliff draws limitations between Cathy and Linton being visited. He keeps Cathy under the custody of Nellie until Cathy marries Lind. Cathy escapes from Wuthering Heights to live with her father, Edgar, but soon after Edgar's death, she is brought to Wuthering Heights by Heathcliff. Edgar is buried next to Catherine. Soon after, Linton dies, and after that, Heathcliff becomes the owner of both Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. Cathy hesitantly lives with Heathcliff and Hareton. She constantly mocks Hareton for his illiteracy at Wuthering Heights. So this is the story up to the present when Lockwood has rented the Thrushcross Grange. The tenant Lockwood, he goes back to London, but after 6 months he passes through the region of Thrushcross Grange and Wuthering Heights. Much to his surprise and everyone's surprise, Cathy and Hareton have fallen in love. Cathy has realized that Hareton has nobility and kindness beneath his lack of education. Heathcliff understands Cathy and Hareton's love, and he sees a resemblance in both Hareton and Cathy to Catherine, and he no longer denies their affair and never wants to take revenge of them. Soon after, Heathcliff dies and is buried beside Catherine on the opposite side where Edgar is buried. Cathy and Hareton planned to marry and moved to Thrushcross Grange. Let us see the themes of this novel. Gothic literature and supernatural. The novel has ghost and spirit appearances. For instance, Heathcliff, who was in love with Catherine, he seeks to have visitations from the ghosts of his beloved Catherine. Love and passion, masculinity and femininity, class structure of Victorian era, revenge and repetition, destructiveness of love. Hope this video helps. If you have query, write it down on the comment below. Thank you for listening.